Otca i Sina Svetoga Duha. Amin. Oče naš, iže jesi na nebesi, da svjati se imja Tvoje, da pride carstvo Tvoje, da bude volja Tvoja, jako na nebesi i na zemlji. Jeb naš naslušni daž nam dnes i ostavi nam dolgi naša, jako že i mi ostavljajem doložnikom našim, i ne uvedi nas svoje iskušenije, no izbavi nas od lukava. Hriste Bože, blagoslovi jas ti, piti rabom Tvojim, jako svijati je sek dan i nje prisno i u vijeki vijekov. Amen. Prijatno, hvala na vas.
But it's a joy to be here. How did I get to Congress was the question. I've been married 26 years. We just celebrated our 26th anniversary on October 6th. We were married, thank you. In fact, you'll appreciate this. On the 6th, we woke up and I looked at my husband, I said, happy anniversary. He goes, oh no, did you get a card? I said, not yet. He said, oh, whew, thank goodness, because he hadn't either. So we eventually got to that. But it's been 26 years. We were married at Holy Resurrection and christened our daughters there as well. But throughout our marriage, I was always in the private sector. I was never in government. I worked in the high-tech sector for companies like Arrow Electronics and Pioneer Electronics, Motorola, Synoptics Communications, in sales and in management and in marketing, and then I wanted to start my own company. As my daughters were engaged in school, I wanted to have a little more flexibility. I left a VP of sales job to go start my own company so I'd have more flexibility to be involved in their lives. But as we all know, now my daughters are 19 and 17. We blink and they grow up pretty quick and they get their own extracurricular activities. And they didn't need me around as much. And I had to decide whether I wanted to grow my business as I had grown businesses for others, or whether I wanted to pursue something else that was of interest to me, and was concerned that in my community we really weren't getting representation about the things that families like mine cared about. So I got involved politically. And so for those of you who do, and I appreciate all the support, I'll warn you, it's a slippery slope. You get involved, you support some other people, you get a little bit more involved, pretty soon they're saying, we want you to run. And that's kind of how it happened for me. In many ways I was an accidental candidate, but I wanted to draw attention to issues that I was concerned about. And when I was encouraged by others around me to run, I decided it would be a great opportunity for me, for my community, and for my family. My daughters have learned a lot in the process as well. And what's been interesting is how their friends have been very involved as well. When I did get elected, which was a surprise, even though I ran twice. The first time I ran, I lost. I was running against a 36-year incumbent. So it took twice. But having had a business background, I knew that oftentimes when you enter new markets, which I had had some experience doing, the first 2 years, you spend sort of conditioning the market. You create relationships. You understand what the needs are. Once you've done that, the next 2 years you can actually penetrate that market and execute. And I thought politics would probably be the same thing, and that's exactly what happened. And in that next race, I won. What was fun is when I went to Washington, we all remember the movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. All of my daughter's friends, parents called and said, can we come with you to Washington? We want our kids to see you get sworn in. So all their Girl Scout friends and soccer friends and orchestra friends came along, and we went to the steps at the Lincoln Memorial. And it was interesting because I couldn't get the press to pay attention to me when I was a challenger. It's very hard when you're running against an incumbent. They figure you don't have a shot, they ignore you. Once you get elected, everybody wants to know you. So I had Carol Marin come out with me. It was the first time she paid attention to me when I went to Lincoln Memorial. We had all these kids. I felt like the Pied Piper following me up the steps. And it's been a great ride ever since. One of the first things you do when you get to Congress is you pick the committees that you'd like to be on. You don't always get the ones you want. I had hoped to get foreign affairs in addition to financial services and small business, I got the first two, I didn't get foreign affairs. I'm still on the waiting list, but more senior members keep bumping me out of line on that. And then you also pick some of the caucuses that you want to be involved with, where there's something that's of particular importance in your life or that you have experience with that you think you can bring some value to. So I got in a number of caucuses, and one was the Serbian American caucus, which I now am a vice chair or co-chair of, and that's been a great honor, and it allowed me to lead some of my colleagues on a trip, what we call a CODEL, a congressional delegation trip to Serbia, where we got to meet with President Tadic and Foreign Minister Vuk Jeremic. We also went to Bosnia and Herzegovina and met with Prime Minister Dodik and the tripartite presidents. We also went down to Kosovo, and it was a really educational trip that not only myself, but my colleagues really learned a lot from, and it created a little more exposure to the area. I also mentioned, was Sissy, is that your first name? To Sissy, that I had an opportunity to also then make sure that members where I knew there were broad Serbian American populations in their districts, that they were aware of the community and that they were connected. So I went and visited Jason Altmaier, who represents Pennsylvania, and that El Equipa community that I had visited when I was like 15 to play in an SNF golf tournament. And he brought me over to the Serbian club that was right across the street from his office. I've talked to Gwen Moore in Milwaukee, who represents, what's the name of the parish in Milwaukee, I'm forgetting now. St. Saba, right, which we've all been there so many times. And so she's come out. What I haven't done with her yet, but we've talked about, is I want to teach her how to colo. That'll be fun. And so and when I went to see Pete Vislavsky in Indiana, where we know there's such a big community there, and many of us have been there for weddings. I know I have, where they have 1,400 people in that hall. It's just massive, but and I don't remember if it was Maryville or Cherville, but I know they got the two really big parishes there. Cherville, yeah. When I went to visit Pete Vislavsky's office, he had a prima in his office. Now, I have a prima in my office because I played prima, and I have it there. But he had one. I said, why do you have a prima? He says, oh, someone my kumovi gave it to me. Now, Pete Vislavsky, he's Polish, he's not Serbian, but he knows his constituency, and he's really been very much adopted by the community. And so it's a pleasure to be able to bring some voice to the community and to connect our members to concerns that people care about, recognizing that at this time, particularly with the domestic challenges that we're facing, it's a little bit harder to get mind share when folks are most focused about unemployment in their districts, recognizing that middle-class families have had a really rough decade. We've had 2 recessions, the last one in 2007, the worst in our lifetime, the worst financial crisis in our lifetime in 2008. We lost $17.5 trillion of personal wealth in this country. And so as we have an election coming up in 2.5 weeks, I mean, that's very much where the mind of America is concerned about the economy and moving forward for their families and their businesses. That's why usually you see me in heels, I got my walking shoes on as we're in campaign mode. And one thing my staff knows, now Ivana's my first Serbian staff member that's helped me, but even those who weren't know that when I'm on the campaign trail, there's nowhere I like to stop more than to join my friends in the Serbian community, because you feed me well and you love me and you build me up, because the campaign trail can be pretty trying. And this morning, Ivana and I were out at the Schaumburg train station platform. We were out shaking hands at 6:15 in the morning. And that's the joy of the campaign trail. Very long days and very long nights, and you just make stops all along the way. Right before we came here today, we left the mayoral ball in Hoffman Estates with the mayor and the trustees and a lot of the businesses in that community. The district that I represent includes 3 communities, not all of those communities, but mostly Lake County, some McHenry, and some Cook, 80 municipalities, and essentially it runs across the Wisconsin state border from Zion, where it touches the lake, all the way out to McHenry County, and it's kind of like an upside-down triangle, and it comes all the way down to Schaumburg on the bottom. So it's a lot of ground to cover, but I love it. It's an honor, it's humbling, it's a great opportunity to have connected to my community in a way one would otherwise never have the ability to do, and you can learn as much as you want about anything. I've told my daughters, with access to the Library of Congress, where every single book ever printed is available, they'll never be able to stump me with a homework question ever. If I look hard enough, I can find the answer. But it is an honor, and what I thought I'd do is open it up and just take some questions.